Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a great honor to be up here for the first time today.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting, pretty nerve-wracking, but we're just going to make it happen.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So if you will notice on the top of your agenda, we have a vision statement that we like to repeat at the beginning of our meetings. And if you will, please repeat with me. Supporting success
By building confidence, we change lives.
As always, it's always nice to see all of our regular faces in the crowd. Thank you for coming tonight. Can I see a hand raise? Can I have you raise your hands if you're a guest here tonight? Guests? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate that so much.
Welcome.
Awesome. So now the fun part for guests. Sorry, I didn't see everybody. All right, so now we're going to ask you guys if you wouldn't mind sharing why you're here with us tonight at Toastmasters. Can I start with you, please? Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't have to.
That's okay.
Apologies.
Farron, yes,
Farron.
my name's Farron Travis, and I'm here because I wanted to join your fabulous club. I've been here once before, and you guys have an incredible group of speakers here, so I want to be a part of it.
All right, Farron.
Welcome.
I'm so sorry. Oli, thank you. I'll get it. Thank you. What brings you here tonight?
I'm here because I just, my name's Oli. I get really nervous in front of people. I'm also very shy and antisocial and don't really like talking to people. So I want to learn to like talking to people.
Awesome. We'll help you do that. Thank you for coming. Sure. I can ask you to share.
My name is Michael Redfield. I'm actually here to support my mother-in-law. So
Awesome.
pretty much what I'm here.
Angela.
Angela. Stand up.
Yes, please.
My name's Angela Redfield. I'm his wife, and this is my mother. So we're just here. We're here in town this week to support her and enjoy the holidays.
All right.
Very cool. Thank you. All right. Thank you again for joining us. And with that, I'm going to introduce the toast tip with. Can you tell me the? Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm gonna practice.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and my dear guests. So today's toast tip is make your goals smart. Most of you would be setting up yourselves for New Year resolutions at this time of the year. And I want to get healthier. Suppose that is a statement which you want to make. It's a great mission, but not a great goal. I want to get healthier. I want to eat better, or I want to exercise like 3 times a week, or I want to lose weight, most popular one, right? By how much and by when? Make your goals smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. If you don't have a specific goals, it's easier that you get distracted, demotivated, and lose energy. So make your goals specific. Thank you.
All right.
Not only a toast tip, but life tips.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, and so now I believe we are going to move on to officers. Do we have anything to bring up for officers tonight? Holiday shopping, we're good, all right. And with that, this evening, I am happy to introduce you to your Toastmaster, Caitlin, if you will.
Yes, I am your Toastmaster this evening. I am very excited about it. I did sign up last minute, so I just went with the season of giving for our theme, which is appropriate because it's the holiday season, and this is our last meeting before the holiday season's over. I don't really have anything else to say about the theme, but I'm sure our Table Topics Master will talk about the season of giving. And I did want to mention some changes to the agenda. We have all of our functionaries are different. Grammarian is Robbie. Thank you, Robbie. Mo will have them talk about their function. I just wanted to let everybody know. Our timer is Kelly. Counter is Ray, which we're missing a clicker. So if anybody knows where the clicker is, I couldn't find it.
Madam Toastmaster, I actually believe I have an extra one at home, so we'll bring that in for the
Oh,
club. Yes.
perfect. Well, if anybody has a clicker today, otherwise Ray's just gonna snap. And for our first time ballot counter, Raj has volunteered to count ballots.
Yay, Raj.
I believe that is all that I have. I did want to, we had a new guest walk in, so if you just want to stand and introduce yourself, what brings you to Toastmasters?
Ron Burris, Party of One. Dan up here, the guy that crazy looking shirt, the one who invited me.
Oh.
Then he abandoned me. I came anyway.
Well, welcome. I am going to now pass it over to Mo so that he can introduce the functionaries and talk about his role. Mo.
Madam Toastmaster, fantastic job. Thank you very much. All right, we don't have a clicker today, but we have a horn.
Hey.
That's probably too much. We'll leave the clicker.
Oh.
Okay, we found the
Got it,
clicker.
all
I
right.
like my horn better, but whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, my name is Mo Brand. Tonight I have the distinct pleasure of being your general evaluator. And for tonight, my job consists of evaluating the meeting from the beginning to the end. Throughout the meeting, I will be evaluating and looking for room of improvement. At the end of the evening, I will also give you my report. Along with the evaluation portion of the evening, I do have a team of functionaries who I will be going down the list. They're going to present themselves, they're going to tell you a little bit about what they're going to be doing, and let's start off with our grammarian for the evening, Mr. Ravi Thapa. Mr. Ravi?
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmaster, and welcome guests. Today I'm gonna be the grammarian, which means I'll be looking at how people or speakers are using the proper use of English language. My another role is also to introduce you the word of the day. Today I chose the word jolly. I think it goes to the theme of the meeting, which means happy and cheerful. And you can use jolly in a sentence like this. Every time you come to Unity Speakers, you are guaranteed to have a jolly good time.
All right.
Please use the word of the day, especially in the table topics, so that you are qualified for the best table topics of the day. And I'll give you my report later on when I'm called upon. Thank you.
All right. Our next functionary, Ms. Kelly Jenkins, who will be our timer for the evening.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I am your timer this evening. Nam, how long is your speech?
5 to 7. Thanks.
So you're the green. I have the cards because the light's not fixed yet. Green will be at 5 minutes. Yellow will be at 6 minutes, and then the light red will be at 7 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to follow up. And Mary Ann, how long is yours? 5 to 7? Same thing. Green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And then Vankesh, you're 10 to 15?
Yes.
Okay, so 10 minutes is your green, 12 is yellow, and then 15 is red, and 30 seconds. And then I'll give my report at the end of the evening. Thank you.
Before I introduce our next functionary, would everyone please grab their phones, put it on silent or vibrate? That way we don't have to disrupt our speakers for tonight. Our next functionary, our counter, Mr. Ray. Please tell us what you're going to be doing.
Fellow Toastmasters and most honored guest, my job is the counter, and my job is to listen to unnecessary utterances tonight. Anytime I hear and so, okay, filler words in general, I will click. I will not ring the clicker during formal speeches, but I will continue to tabulate them as they occur. I will also give a detailed report when called upon. Thank you.
And last but not least, our ballot counter for the evening, Mr. Vrash.
Mr. Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. My role today is threefold. I will collect ballots for speakers, evaluators, and table topics. Then I will count it, and at the end of the day, I will present the award.
Our evaluators for the evening tonight, evaluating our first speaker, Mr. Nam Lee, is Mr. Dan McGinnis. Dan, could you tell us, please, what you'll be looking for tonight?
I'm going to be looking for vocal variety. Did you ever have your upper lip dry out and get stuck to your teeth and you can't talk? That's what happened. Vocal variety from Nam.
Our second evaluator from Ms. Mary Ann Ruffins, Ms. Christy Stepansky.
You got it. Thank you guys. The purpose of the project is to practice using a story within a speech, and therefore I will be looking for storytelling techniques and descriptive skill. Thank you.
And our last evaluator for the evening, our president, Mr. Steve Spivey.
Fellow Toastmasters and most honored guests, it is my pleasure to provide some feedback for Mr. Venkesh Ettaraj this evening. He's going to be speaking for the Better Speaker Series, and he is going to teach us about talking more about organizing your speech effectively. This evening we're going to be talking about helping us understand. We'll be talking about how adequately prepared he was to essentially give us a training. His display of visuals, were they smooth, were they effective, and so on. Looking forward to seeing your speech tonight. Thank you.
And that concludes my first half of tonight's meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to turn it back to your Toastmaster for the evening. I am running on fumes today. Caitlin Hughes.
Done there.
You took my agenda. Okay. Our first speaker this evening is Nam Lee. Nam, traditionally the Asian people believe in fortune tellers. I don't, but Nam doesn't. But trust him, they are not crazy. He can prove it to us by sharing his personal story. Please welcome Nam Lee presenting The Fortune Teller.
When I was 5 years old, my grandma brought me to see her favorite fortune teller to consult about my future. After carefully analyzing my date of birth, the time I was born, and looking over my palm, the fortune teller told my grandma, "Your grandson is going to be an alcoholic. Don't worry, he will be just fine." My grandma didn't expect it, so she repeatedly asked the fortune teller to double check on her finding. It took only a few seconds after the fortune teller reassured my grandma about her prediction. My grandma stood up and argued, "It's nonsense. My grandson is not going to be an alcoholic. You must be wrong on this one. I have 3 sons, and you know them all. None of them either smoke or drink. That is how I raise my children, and I expect my grandson will be on the same path." That was the only time that my grandma disagreed with her longtime friend and a favorite fortune teller. Madam Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters, and the most welcome guests. Unfortunately, the fortune teller hit a nail right in the head. Here I am, a recovered alcoholic. It's nothing to be proud of, and to my age, it doesn't matter anymore. Today, I would like to share with you the 2 things that I love about drinking. One neighborhood that I used to live in Vietnam is surrounded by rivers. And I would never forget the times that I sat by the riverside watching people netting fish and drinking with my friends. I love the sound of waves crashing on the bank, the summer breeze blowing straight to my face, and the smell of new crops being crushed at the nearby rice mill. But basically, I have never had interest about the bitterness of hard liquor. What attracted me were the environment and the people that I associated with. But back in Vietnam at that time, drinking was the only choice I had after getting tired of playing soccer by barefoot on the rice field. Secondly, alcohol was a source of my confidence because the beer muscle gave me a power to do or say anything I want without worrying about other people. The only problem was I couldn't remember what I did. One time, I went to the Vietnamese market early in the morning. A girl that I thought I had never met her before, not what you think, came to me and said, "Nam, last night at your friend's wedding, you went on the stage to sing, not just once, but twice." I snapped out my morning hangover. No way, you must be kidding me. I have nothing to do with singing. As she was walking away, I heard she said, "Oh, you might have to check it out with your friends. Everybody in Phoenix knows about that." Back in the early 90s, the Vietnamese community in Phoenix was so small. The news spread out very quick, especially when you do a stupid thing. It has been 21 years since I quit smoking and drinking. Somehow, a prediction about my future was shockingly spot on. I was an alcoholic, but thank God, I ended up being just fine. But to recover from alcoholism has not been a total positive for me because I lost my comparative advantage. Sometimes I think if I have a 6-pack before the meeting, I can be whoever I want to be. Perhaps if I take over Steve's spivey position, I might do it much better than him. But don't worry, my wife would kill me before I get here. But I'm Toastmaster.
That was great.
Killed it.
Madam Timer, if we could have 1 minute for evaluations, please. Our next speaker is Mary Ann Ruffin. She will be completing the Motivational Strategies Project Connect with Storytelling. The title of her speech is He Made It Through. By the grace of God, he made it through. Some did not, but he saw enough to make him look at his life and thank God for every day he wakes up. What about you? Mary Ann Ruffin, He Made It Through.
Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't think you're gonna make it? Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, it was a beautiful morning. The sun was shining. It was September. The alarm clock rang. He wakes up. He reaches over. He turned the alarm clock off. He gets up. He gets dressed for work, thinking about what a beautiful day it's going to be. He goes out the door, runs down the corner to get on the subway. He gets there. He kept thinking, this is going to be a good day because it's so pretty. He gets on the subway. It takes him about 45 minutes to get into work. When he arrived, he had to come out of the building to go to his office across the street. He comes out of the building. He sees people looking, and they're crying. They're looking up. He looks up. He sees a plane that had gone inside of a building. He gets afraid. He's afraid. He turns and he runs across the road to his building. The security guard says, "Come on in. Don't go out, stay inside." He goes in, he goes upstairs to his office. He goes to the window. He looks out the window. He tells his co-worker, "Come here, look. There's another plane. It's going through the building." And he said to his co-worker, "I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving." So he goes downstairs, past the security guard. He's afraid. He doesn't know what to do. But he did know that he had to get out. He started out the door. As he walked along the road, he see body parts on top of a car. He's afraid. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on, except for two planes were in a building. He keep walking, very afraid, not sure what might happen to him. He sits down. He see a lady. She's pregnant. She's sitting on the side of the road. She's crying. He sat down with her and he talks with her. Then he decided, well, we better get out of here. He was going to go home, although his boss, they said, stay there. He said, no. So him and the lady got up. They started walking away from the scene. All of a sudden, they heard a voice. Run! Run for your life! He started running. He kept hearing this voice. Run! Run for your life! As he ran, the security guard from a bank saw him, stopped him, and pulled him and the lady inside the bank. He went into the bank. As soon as they closed the door, whoosh, smoke went right past them. Debris went right past them. That security guard saved his life. After everything settled, he says, I'm going home. So he finally made it home to his apartment. He got on his computer. He saw where they had put him down for being dead. He called me. He said, I'm not dead. Thank God I made it through. They might call you and tell you I'm dead, but I'm not. I'm very much alive. And as today, when I talk to him, he's very thankful each day that he can wake up and keep going. He made it through. He was my son.
Now we're going to take 1 minute for evaluations. Our third and final speaker is Venkesh Ethraj. He will be speaking from the Educational Better Speaker Series, Organize Your Speech. Sometimes finding content and organizing a speech is challenging. Today, Venkesh will share some simple ways to come up with a good speech. Please welcome Venkesh presenting Organize Your Speech.
If you're new to Toastmasters, organizing and coming up with a speech is a big challenge. If you're like me, you have a faint idea of what you need to do, then you have to speak for this 5 minutes to qualify. What are you going to fill in that 5 minutes? If I'm just going to talk about my car, can I talk about it for 5 minutes? It's going to be a big challenge. You need to have some kind of context to talk about something as small as a car. You need to have some points. How do you fill in the content? If you are in the same place, let's explore. Toastmasters has something called as a Better Speaker Series. They have a list of educational material and how you could organize your speech, research, and come up with a good speech for 5 to 7 minutes or more, depending on what you're working on. Organizing your speech, the first step is more or less tell them what you're going to tell them. Imagine if this was my speech where I was preparing with an opening. I walked into this meeting tonight. I saw this shady character outside. He just stopped me and said, "Hey, I wouldn't let you in. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be going in." I was scared, but I ignored him. I stepped in and I heard a big noise. Lights went out. I was so scared. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, that is why I'm just going to talk about emergency light today. That's my introduction. So you give some kind of a hook at the start, and then you come to your context. You're talking about emergency lights, the need of it. You could come up with something like that. That should be your introduction. It should be impactful enough that they remember what you're talking about, what you're going to tell them about, so they are interested to know more. Then you obviously got to tell them. Tell them. It's not enough if you had an impactful opening. All you just got to go and just say what it is all about. Emergency light, for some of them, they might not even know what it is because you never had a power failure before. If you were somewhere in Midwest or in other parts of the world, like where I grew up, it's part of life. You don't have lights if something hits, a typhoon hits, or a hurricane hits, or there's a tornado. What happens in that case? You need lights. There's no more power. So you give a background of it. Then you just talk about options. What kind of emergency lights you go and just buy. It's as simple as that. A simple thing like emergency light, you could just always build up a story and you could just go and just talk about it. As long as you know some points about it, all you just got to do is come up with at least 3 points. 3 is some kind of a standard which most people agree with for 5 to 7 minute speech. If it's longer, you could just do a little more. Then the next step is tell what you told them. That's your conclusion of your speech. You need to come back and just say halfway through, because I was just telling you a story about how a person was lost in a house without lights and an emergency light saved them. You might have just thought the whole speech was about this person who was lost in a house. But I have to close that. I have to close by just saying, you heard those stories and my own personal story. You know, someday an emergency light could save your life. Otherwise, you'd be left in the dark. You close with what you were just talking about. So as simple as that, 3 steps. You are fine. You came up with a speech. That's what you just need to have. This is called an outline. You have introduction, a body like what I just said, then there are main ideas. You just definitely need to, for some people, if they don't know what lights are all about, emergency, you need to have a main idea explaining that about, and then you just need to come up with supporting material, some where you could buy them, how you could use them, what are the different kinds, and so on. Then finally you just conclude your speech. So the important part is not speaking, the preparation before that. You just got to come with some kind of an outline so that you're prepared. That's all about prepared speech. The advantage of prepared speech is you can take your time and prepare however long you want, work on it, and then come and deliver just in 5 minutes. This is just the finale. So come up with an outline, come up with the content, run through it, see how it works for you. If it doesn't, then come up with something else. As long as it's impactful and audience can get connected to what you're saying. I might speak in a different country where they might understand all about the need for emergency light. In another place, they don't even care. So how you would connect that? You need to, work on your contacts. So those are critical. Obviously this is messing up with me. Okay. Filling the outline. The outlines are something which you just got to work on. Most of the time, what I personally do is, if I just take a subject like emergency light, I'll just go to the Google. It'll have 10 or 20 news stories. It'll have 4 or 5 different places where it's sold. Then I'll stitch all of them together and just realize, hey, I have a story. I have this kind of a connection. This is how I'm going to introduce it to my audience. That's one way. If you want to do it in another way, you could just go research in library how you used to. When you used to go to school, you used to go to the library and just borrow a book and just say, hey, these chapters are interesting. Let me talk about it. Or just do any way that works for you. Talk to a friend who is confident about that subject. They'll give you some context and you could just take it forward from there. So you have many ways of working on your outline, on your content, arrange them in order, expand the points where you think it needs to be expanded to give an impact, and there you are, you have a good speech. If you are better than me, if you are somebody like Dan McGuinness, you will stand in front of a camera, prepare that speech, deliver that speech 1,000 times so that you get to some kind of perfection, and then you play it back to yourself and see, hey, I can do this better here, do that better here, let me make a change, let me talk to Tom Ostart, he might correct me and give a better introduction. That's another way of doing it. So work on it. That's the way you could just grow to the next level and come up with a better speech. If you think some other way, not like me, I'm a systematic person. Step A, step B, step C. Some of us are a little more creative. Some of us are right brain thinkers. Right brain thinkers are creative. They have this imagination. It might be a flower here. It might be a light there. And then it might be some clouds. Now, how do I put all that together in a speech? I don't know. So what they do is, they have all these 3 images, they put that together in what's called as a mind map. A mind map are unrelated stuff. You have 3 or 4 different ideas, you're trying to get them into a common idea, structure, put that together. For example, when I just think back about my trip to Europe, I think about the time where the lights were great around Torre Eiffel. Then I had a great time in one of the ski lodges in Swiss Alps. Then I had amazing pizza in Italy. So now these are stuff which I experienced. Now these are different contexts. They don't stitch together. Now how do I stitch them together? Probably I'll just come up with a core idea. My vacation in Europe. Then that becomes the foundation of my speech. Then I have 3 different stories which I could just come up with and just stitch them together. And I had a wonderful time in Europe last year. It was such an experience. I would like to share some of it with you. You could go right out and just start with that kind of an introduction and just go with your story because you just have 5 minutes. That would also work. So the idea is like work on mind map, come up with a main topic. When you have different outlying stories, you can put together with a common main topic which would work for you. That helps. You can also just work with your bad experience. You might not have a great experience in Europe. You might have been locked out from your hotel room, stayed out, partially naked in the cold. That's a great story. That's wonderful. People will laugh. People will connect. You might have just lost your foothold when you were climbing the mountain and hurt yourself badly in Alps. Or you might have blown all your money in one restaurant. You literally went no money for the rest of the day in Italy. So it can be anything. It can be all these multiple stories which you want to stitch together, but then you can just come up with one common idea which is called a vacation in Europe or my bad time in Europe. Whatever. You just want to come up with one. That simple. That's how mind map works. Tell them the formula. Develop main idea first, outline. It doesn't have to come sequentially. It can just come up like this. So it can be intro, end, body. I sometimes work like that. I thought of a great story. Where do I put it? Is it at introduction or at the end? Wherever it will be impactful. I had heard a great quote. Do I start with this great quote for my speech or should it be at the end? You can just work on the structure using a mind map. If you're good at that kind of thinking, that works for you. That's another way of researching, coming up with an extensive idea about the story which you're talking about. Still you got to do the research. Still you might have to stand in front of the mirror. Still you have to talk to Tom Oster. Still you have to do everything. But all in 5 minutes. Practice, practice, practice. With all that, then you might come up with a great speech. Then one good day you don't have to work on a piece of paper, think about all that in your mind. When you're standing in front of people, it automatically comes to you. That's when you're a good speaker. You're confident. You can deliver a speech about anything. That's where you want to work towards. So if you would like to be a better speaker, an organized speaker, you're going to make your audience listen to you. If you organize your speech well, your audience will get the message. If you don't organize your speech well, audience will try to understand, try to figure out what the presentation was all about. Hey, was this presentation about speech? Was this presentation about lights? Was this presentation about some weird trip in Paris? Or was it about organizing your speech? It has to be clear to the audience. You don't let the audience organize it on their head and figure out what the speech was all about. You come up with what the idea was, make it crystal clear, and communicate effectively. As we just progress, we don't have to do any of this, but you just have to be systematic. Like the Greek philosopher said, it's best to do things systematically because we're just humans. Disorder is our worst enemy. We don't want people to go around and just think the story is this, that, and there. Just close and just say, my speech today was organizing your speech and why it is important and how you could do that. That's what you heard from me. That, I give the control back to Madam Toastmaster.
We're now going to take our final minute for evaluations. No. Okay. We are now going to ask for a timer's report. Kelly, how did all of the speakers do?
Yes. So Nam spoke for 5 minutes and 16 seconds. Marianne, 5 minutes and 17 seconds. And Venkesh, 14 minutes and 54 seconds. And they all qualify for tonight's ribbon.
So if you can all fill out the little slip in front of you and vote for who you thought was the best speaker, Raj will be around to collect your ballots. We're now going to move on to my favorite part of the meeting, the Joke Meister, which is Melissa.
A man walks into his boss's office and says, "Sir, I'll be straight with you. I know the economy isn't great, but there are 3 companies after me right now, and I would respectfully ask for a raise." After a few minutes of haggling, the boss finally agrees to a 5% raise, and the man happily gets up to leave. By the way, the boss asks, which 3 companies are after you? The man replied, the electric company, the water company, and the phone company.
I'm now going to pass it over to our general evaluator, Mo. Mo, that's
Touche.
Well played. One of the most important tools we can learn here at Toastmasters is going to be our listening skills, which is why it's so important to sign up for the evaluation rooms and positive feedback. Tonight, we had great speakers, and we're going to have some fantastic evaluations. Our first evaluator for the evening, distinguished Toastmaster evaluator Mr. Nomley, Dan McGinnis.
Nom! Man, that's the best speech I've ever heard from you. Now, I may be off, but I expect you to sign up for the humor speech contest, and it should be, I hope, a year from now when we have the international speech contest, because this year it's going to be international and evaluation. Next year it'll be international and hopefully humorous. You were great. It's the best speech I've ever heard from you. I don't ever want you to miss another Thursday. If you have to miss because of your wife, bring her with you. If you can't get her to come, give me your address, I'll come pick her up and I'll bring her over. Okay? There's only 2 things I could suggest. One of them, in the very beginning, you got up here, and this means you're nervous. For anyone that's been in Toastmasters 12 months or longer, they know you're nervous. For God's sake, put your hands behind you so they don't know you're nervous, okay? The only other thing, I thought you was going back here to get something to drink. You turned your back on the audience. You don't ever turn your back on the audience. Think about this. What if you'd have been wearing a backless gown tonight? Real bad. I was very impressed with your speech. Your humor is great. Your enthusiasm is far better than anyone else in this room if you'll just let it out and make it a point to be here on a regular basis from now on.
True, true.
Mr.
Our second evaluator for the evening, evaluating Miss Marianne, who brought her A game today. Miss Christy Saponsky, come on up.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. That was a powerful story. We all know that story. We were all there on that day. We remember where we were and what was going on. And I'm always in awe when I hear stories of survival. Because could you imagine what the thoughts and feelings are going into that moment, not knowing what's happening? And Marianne, thank you so much for sharing that story, because that's a very personal story. You know, that's a lot of emotion, a lot of fear for what could have happened, and a lot of joy for what occurred. And so I want to share with you what I thought was amazing about your story. You had a really great connection from the very beginning, just all the way through. Everything lined up, everything told the story. It all came together and gave us a great perception and picture of what it was that was happening. To follow him through from the house in the morning onto, you know, the bus into the office. And so it was just a great way to be a part of that situation. One thing that I would offer is, because it is such an emotional story, you have the opportunity to use your tone and to use more descriptive words for us. I definitely wanted to hear you be like, he ran to the window, he didn't know what to do, like just really giving us some characterization in some of those situations. Because that story, you want to feel that story. You know what that story is supposed to portray. And I definitely wanted to just get more emotion out of you, more fear out of you, more, again, descriptive. And then my last thing that I wanted to share was, somewhere in my notes here, phrasing and pausing. I think that there was opportunity for us to get drawn in. I think that with the intensity of the story, that we want to sit there and think about what was happening on that day. Think about the pictures we've seen on, because we're there. You're giving us the story, but to draw us in with pauses and phrases would just be an added benefit for your speech. But it was amazing, and that's a great story, and I'm so grateful for your family and everything that turned out great, and thank you so much for sharing tonight. Thank you.
Our last and final evaluator evaluating tonight, Mr. Venkesh Etharaj, is your president, Mr. Steve Spivey. Come on up.
All right, Steve.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and most especially Venkesh. Thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. Venkesh has been speaking for quite some time. Venkesh is a very distinguished Toastmaster. Although he has not yet earned his DTM, he's very close. It's always great to hear from someone who has organized contests and who's been out there and who's done a lot of speaking, how we can improve. Thank you for that. Venkesh, I found your speech to be very helpful. I thought your vocal variety, your organization, all of the core tenets of speaking were right on. Excellent examples for us to see how it's done. I like that you use visual aids. We were able to really see and follow along with you. That was helpful. I really also enjoyed the fact that you told your own personal stories throughout. You highlighted, for example, parts about your own trip to Europe, and I thought that was great. I mean, I could be right there having pizza with you, but it told me I really need to color anything that I am doing anecdotally with my own stories. I love that. I thought there were a couple things, however, if I may offer some feedback for you that we could have done better here. One, I felt we were a little rushed right at the very, very beginning with setup, and that was unfortunate with 4 minutes to go, but we got it done, and that's because you brought your own projector and know how to use it, so nice job there. I also would point out, I felt like it was very difficult not having a slide advancer for you, which was weird because I've seen you with a slide advancer before, and you're very natural with it, you know. You do a wonderful job not crossing in front of the light, which might be an amateur mistake, but as someone who likes to move around and is very expressive, and is not a new speaker, I sometimes forget that. I love that you were right here, but you weren't glued. You were here, and you were here, but you were never over here, which was great. Venkesh, I also thought that in addition to maybe a little bit of the wonky points with your visual aid, we could have used another layer of visual aid. You talked about something that was fascinating to me. I loved the mind mapping piece, right? That was very, very interesting. But I had a hard time following along a little bit there. It would have been nice if I had something visual that I could have touched and taken away. How do I mind map? What is mind mapping really? And how can I use what you're saying for me to be better? Another point I would say is I felt a little bit rushed right at the conclusion. When you were trying to walk through, you said, at one point I noticed you had said, as we progress, we don't have to do any of this. What did that mean? I wanted to know if that was something that you thought in the presentation that Toastmasters did, because that is a canned PowerPoint. Was that not relevant in your opinion, or were we just skipping ahead so that you could make time? Just something to consider. Overall, thank you for sharing what you know. You always help us be better. I appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Timer, if you may please have your report.
Yes, sir. So I believe Dan spoke for about 2 minutes. Because I forgot I was the timer. Christy spoke for 2 minutes and 23 seconds, and Steve spoke for 2 minutes and 42 seconds, so they all qualify for tonight's ribbon.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Ladies and gentlemen, please vote for who you thought tonight was the best or most improved evaluator for the evening. And while Mr. Raj is going on, allow me to introduce your table topics master for the evening, Mr. Tom Ott. Can't stop. Come on up, sir.
Who I am? You sure? Okay, Moses, you got that. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. It's great to see everybody sober. This is nice. If anybody wants any Mexican beer, I've got a ton of it.
Is it nice? I don't know. I'm thinking no.
Excuse me. Party made me just a little bit ill. I'm your Table Topics Master tonight, and I'm very happy to do this. The theme of the day is, what is it? The gift of giving? The season of giving. Oh, how nice. That's great. And because it is the season of giving and it is Christmas, I do feel very festive. I think I'm going to allow you to give to your fellow Toastmasters tonight. I have one question, and I'm going to call you up. And what I would like for you to do is I would like you to give a gift to a fellow Toastmaster. What I would like is I would like you to pick somebody in the club, and I want you to explain to them the value that they bring to the club and if there's something personal for you. It's really great to hear. We don't always get accolades ourselves. You may assume that somebody in here really understands the value that they bring. They probably don't. And it would be great if you'd have the opportunity to give them that gift. So I will start. I'm going to pick Mr. Don Ratliff. You know, Don, people do sing your praises quite a bit. No, you sit down. I'm talking about you. I didn't call it. People, I know people sing your praises, but the thing is, I've known you for a few years here, and I think what you do great for everybody in this world is you go down to the prison and you really care about those people, and you take a group down there, and it means a lot to them too, and I know how much it means to you personally. And for me personally, you inspire me just when you come up here and you speak from the heart every time. You become such a prolific speaker, and you came from a place where you were afraid, where you dropped all your notes, and you had the wedding, and you were going to give the best man speech, and you tell that story so eloquently. But you're an inspiration to everybody in this club, and I think everybody thinks you already know that, but you may not know that, at least to the extent that how much you inspire me. So I want to thank you for that. You're an amazing guy. And that's what I want from the people that I call up here. Pick somebody in the club and tell them what they mean to you and what they mean to the club. That's the gift of giving. And if you do this, you have 1 to 2 minutes. You have a 15-second grace period, 1:45 to 2:15, if you want to qualify for the coveted ribbon for the best table topic speaker. And if you do want to qualify, you also have to use the word of the day, which is jolly. So please be sure that you use the word of the day. Have any questions? No questions? Good. So my first victim, the first person I'd like to call on tonight would be Raymond. Why don't you come up and give us? Oh, come on now.
Dan, I'd like to thank you for helping me through the process of going to PA school, because without your help, I don't think I'll make it this year. Because when I was over in Michigan, I was a nervous wreck. I told you I have anxiety when it comes to interviewing and sharing with other people facts about myself. And what Dan did for me was, he was on the phone with me minutes before the interview, and we went over strategies and how to calm down, how to look people in the eye, just represent myself as best as I can. And I know, in addition to helping me with the interview, he's also my racquetball buddy. And I think I'm shameful to admit that the first time I was playing with him, I was the one that was sweating and out of breath, and I was looking at him, and he told me, he rightfully bragged that he's the one with 13 stents and 3 bypasses. I have nothing to complain about. So I'm really happy that I met him. I met you, Dan, and we have the opportunity to do things like racquetball and Toastmaster together. You make me very jolly.
I think it's an unfair advantage that he has in racquetball because he also has a pig heart transplanted into his body. So with that pig heart, it's very large and it's young. So he's actually younger than he was. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. My next victim up here. Kelly, why don't you come up?
No, I cannot.
Hide.
And
Okay.
it's not Omar. I cannot pick one person. I have to pick many. I met Mo. First of all, he's a guy. I'm a woman. I bring my car in, and he makes me feel like I'm anybody else. He doesn't try and upsell me. He takes care of me. He brings me to Toastmasters and kind of gets me out of my shell a little bit more. And that's what you bring to Toastmasters. You bring people out of their shells with your generosity, you're just genuine. I know you mean what you say and say what you mean. Steve, I love so much of your positivity and the words that you use to describe other people, even when they're kind of mean, you still are very, very respectful of them, and that's what you bring. You show us how we should all act towards other people, even if they're being disrespectful, you're still respectful of them. And Christy, I love how you can come up here and just blurt out a bunch of stuff and it means so much and you are so up and just positive as well. You make me smile. And Melissa, I love how you are, like, what you bring is, how do I put this? You seem nervous and scared, but then you still come up here and do it, no matter what. And if you can do it, I think anybody else can do it. So thank you very much.
That wasn't so hard, was it? It didn't cost you anything, Kelly, you know? It was awesome. That was terrific. And Christy, one of the things that I noticed, I could pick something from everybody here, but one of the things I noticed when you gave your evaluation tonight, when you give an effective evaluation, it's because you really care about somebody. Giving an evaluation when you personally care, when you could see how much you cared about Mary. You were up here, it wasn't just you reverberating everything that you had, that you knew about speaking, whatever it was that you really cared. That was very cool, I love that. All right, my next victim tonight will be, let's see, how about Dr. Evelyn? Come on up here. You came in late. Why do you look surprised? You're sitting right next to me.
Yes,
and you don't
I
have
was
a
trying
role.
to hide. I
And you
was-
came in late, and you're back there bad-mouthing everybody else, and now it's time for you to
You're
get
not
back.
supposed to tell people
Okay,
that.
get back.
What a wonderful idea, Tom. And this is a great time to be telling everybody how much they mean to all of us. Like Kelly, I can't pick out one person. There are so many people here who have inspired me and taught me and changed the way that I do things and the way that I feel, even coming up here. So Tom, I'm gonna thank you. You inspire me in the way that you speak. You demonstrate what you say and teach us all better ways of communicating, and that has been just awesome. So I've learned so much from you. Thank you very much. Steve, our meetings together are amazing, and some of the things that I have learned from you are just the simple things. Yes, you're joyous and you're happy and positive, and that's fantastic, and you're jolly. But simple things. I'm a person who likes to make a list of what I need to do and then do it. We're talking and you're on the phone texting and you're just getting it done. And I realized, wow, I don't have to wait until I've written it down and decide what to do next. I can just do it. And that is awesome. That's just super helpful. So thank you for that. And Mo, just as president the previous year, just the energy that you have brought to the club and the positivity and the supportiveness to everybody here. I think you created such a culture here, and that's why we've gotten to be this big and this positive and powerful. So thank you very much for that.
I think it's was really sweet, the way she included me in her answer, as if I'll never call on her again. All right, Mr. Ratliff, it's your turn. You wanted to come up here. You're the table topics campaign.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Meister. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I'm going to attempt to be jolly in my deliverance of this, and I too cannot reduce it to just one person. There's so many people that I would want to acknowledge in this. The first round of people that I want to acknowledge are our president and our past presidents. The culture that you've set, the tone that you've set here, the effort and energy that you've put into this club and making Unity Speakers the amazing club that it is. So I definitely want to acknowledge Steve and Mo and Peggy and our previous presidents as well. You are responsible for making and setting the tone for what Unity Speakers is. One of the finest clubs in the universe, as Barry would say. The next group that I want to acknowledge are our mentors, the people who have really gone out of their way to help people grow to that next step. Tom, you've been an outstanding mentor, working with people to help us go to that next level, taking the experience that you gained personally from getting to the international speech competition and working with people, allowing them to go that next step. Dan McGinnis, there you are. You know, you're always working hard and working with people and sharing the experience that you have. And so as our experienced mentors, you are the ones that really, really inspire me. The next group I want to acknowledge are those of you who were terrified of being up here and doing it anyway. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mary Ann. Seeing you can't come up tonight and do it. Tracy back there, watching you on your path as you are conquering your fear. You are an example to everybody here. Robbie back there, seeing how you have grown and become more comfortable. Nam, I don't see where you are right now. Oh, there you are. The amazing speech, and I absolutely agree with what Dan said tonight. You know, that was an amazing thing. The best speech I have ever heard you give. I wish I had an hour to go into all of the things that I've seen and acknowledge and want to appreciate about this club. So I'm going to just kind of wrap it up into everybody here. You all collectively make Unity Speakers what it is. Without you, it wouldn't be what it is. And I don't think I don't think when we talk about Unity Speakers, we don't talk about that lightly. Unity Speakers is a truly amazing club. It is because we are truly amazing in what we bring together collectively.
I think I'm gonna cry. We have time for one more, so how about Robbie? Get up here. Oh, don't get Don't come up here with that, oh, you love the applause, right? Don't you? Applaud again for Robbie White.
Thank you. I think for me, like the Unity Speakers as a one club, it makes a big difference for me. You know, these are the bunch of people who I can trust, who I can believe in, and there is always something to learn from each member. You know, for me. So every week I want to be here because there are so many things I could learn from this group of people. You know, so for me, Unity Speaker is the best one. But if I have to particularly point out the person, which I'm really thankful, and when I joined the first time Toastmaster, Don Clausing was the person like who was our treasurer, and then he was the person like was taking care of almost everything in the club. And I really admired the way he was handling the club. He was the person like who used to set up everything in the meeting. He used to come half an hour or probably like 45 minutes, I don't know, but he used to come here, he used to set up all of these things, and there used to be all of the things that used to be set up. And I really admired the way he was making sure we get a chance here to speak and to improve our public speaking. I really admire him, I miss him, and he was also my first mentor. And then whenever I needed in my speeches, I used to reach out to him, and then he used to immediately send me back about how I could improve on my speaking. So for me, Don Clausing is a person. Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you.
It wasn't so hard. It wasn't so hard, right? It was okay. Okay. Maybe we have a timer's report, please, for our speakers.
Yes, sir. Ray spoke for 1 minute 21 seconds. I spoke for 1 minute and 36 seconds. Evelyn 1:42. Dawn 2:27, and Robbie 1:30. So they all qualify as time.
Good job.
concerned.
How about a grammarian's report for the word of the day?
Yeah, I think everybody used the word of the day. I didn't, so.
I didn't either.
Oh, we'll just waive it tonight. It doesn't matter. I think we should go ahead. Let's go ahead and have a vote. And we just please vote. And as we're voting, I just want to mention that you hear everybody that's getting up and speaking about Unity Toastmasters. This is a very special club. A number of us belong to a number of clubs, or have belonged to other clubs, and certainly have visited other clubs. This is a very special club because everybody cares so much about each other. We can talk about Toastmasters. Well, we provide a mutually supportive and positive learning experience. Each individual member gets to work on their oral communication and leadership skills, blah, blah, blah. That's how we do it, but what we really do is what Steve has put in our mission statement is that we change lives. And we do that because we care so much about each other. This process, this program, is pervasive outside of this room. It changes everything that you do and the way that you do everything, and it improves your life so greatly, but it only does that because we care about each other. And I think that's really cool. You heard all that tonight from the other members. I just think it's really awesome, and I just want to say that for me personally, I've been here for a long time, and the last couple of years I've just been through absolute hell. I could have not gotten through what I've been through without all of you. No question about it. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It really is the season of giving, and I want to give that back to you. So right now, let me give it back to the general evaluator, whatever his name is. I think his name is.
Did everybody vote for best table topics? Not four, not fur. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for that evaluation, Madam Timer. May we please have a functionary report? We'll start off with our grammarian for the evening, Mr. Robbie Tapa.
Thank you so much, fellow Toastmasters. Today, when our speaker came in, these are some of the things that I noticed when they were speaking for our prepared speeches. Namely, on his humorous speech, he used some of the word like fortune teller, prediction, recovered, alcoholic, smell of crust by rice mill. I really like that one. And another was alcoholic, source of confidence. And news go out very quickly when you do stupid things. And also competitive advantage, he used that one. For Marian, she used when she said, I liked when she said, run for life, wished past, very much alive, thankful, keep going. And Marian, like this, when you were saying very afraid, I think you repeatedly said very afraid. Rather than using very afraid, you could say frightened. So it would be more authentic and more like, so you could do that one. So Venkesh, he used word like challenge, faint, idea, fill in the content, steady character, hook at the start, stitch, structure, wonderful. Christy, she said descriptive intensity of the story, draws us in. Steve said visual aids, highlight, immature mistake, fascinating, tossed, and taken away. Thank you for sharing. I really like the part like when he ended his evaluation, he said thank you for sharing what you know. So I really like that one, that part. And for Kelly, she said blurt out. And yeah, that's all my report. I think everybody spoke really good English today, and that's my report. Thank you.
And you heard him throughout the meeting, our all counter for the evening, Mr. Raymond Lee.
I think we did an excellent job in eliminating some of these filler words. If I don't say your name, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It means you didn't trigger the alarm today, so congratulations. So Nam, I only heard an and Caitlin, one Venkesh got a you know. Christy, I got 4 and 3 you knows. Kelly, 1 1 so. Evelyn, 1 so. Ravi, 1 1 so, and 1 you know. As overall, we did great. A lot of people got up here and speak today, and I was having a really hard time trying to click, so. Thank you.
Mr. Raj, do you need a little bit more time? You're good to go. All right, Mr. Ballot Counter, come on up and present the awards for tonight.
An exciting time. So for the first one, the best speaker, most improved speaker, it was one-sided contest, and the winner is Nam Lee.
All right, 1, 2, and one more. 1, 2. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lee.
The second award for the most improved evaluator, that was a tight contest. And Christy won by just 1 more vote.
Appreciate it.
All right, ready? 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. All right.
Thanks,
you.
sir. Thank you very much.
And the last award for the best table topic. And that was quite close as well. So Dawn.
All right, ready? 1, 2. All right, thanks, you guys.
You're knocking, but you can't come in.
Well, I was like, I don't want to open up that door.
No, the alarm will sound.
Yeah. Go around.
Are you serious?
I was like, hey, that's me.
Don't let him in.
You good? Our
No, our guests.
guests. Go ahead and call them up. Our guests, come on up. First timers. You also get a rating for tonight. All right, bring it all in.
We're gonna take a photo.
All right, ready, you guys? 1, 2. All right, thank you very much.
All right. Come back in the rhythm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost going to wrap it up. If you want to go ahead and take a seat, I'll be giving my evaluation for tonight. First and foremost, the evaluation starts way before the meeting. Ms. Caitlin, you sent out an email throughout the week. We're short on functionaries, and it looked, by the time I got to the meeting tonight, you had it all squared away, and everyone was ready to go. which is a good thing. Looks like the energy in the room, first and foremost, look around you guys. The room is full once again, and you guys brought in your energy, fantastic speeches. Speakers, you guys brought your A game today. Evaluators brought your A game today. I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank the guests for coming out, for your support as well. All of you. If there's any room for improvements, cell phones, we want to shut those off, put them in vibrate, or silence them as you come in. Names. How important are names? Very important. Remember names. I cannot stress that enough. You guys, it's important that we bring our A game all the time. Tom Osta told me one time, he said, you either bring it or don't bring it at all. It's important that you bring it because you don't know who's going to show up. And you don't know what the guests are going to think of that. We are a representation of what's going to happen here, and we are here to show what it's all about. And if our guests are not impressed, then they probably won't be coming back, although I do see some familiar faces today, which is a good thing. It lets you know, members, that you're doing your job. I want to thank you guys. This is my last meeting for the year. I'm happy that we're finishing it on such a positive, strong note. I want to thank you very much to all of you. And a special thanks to Tom Ottstadt. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to take about 30 seconds. And here's the reason why, Tom.
We're out of time.
Here's the reason why, because all evaluations are important, but there are no evaluations that get me more than Tom Ottstadt's, because I know they're genuine and they come from a good spot, from a good place. Even though they can feel a little harsh, I know that they're only going to make me better, which is why I'm honored every time he evaluates me. To everyone that was here when I first started, Venkesh, Don, Tom, and everyone who's not here, Peggy Peasley, Don Clausing, Robbie, thank you for remembering Don. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. That's my evaluation for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, Caitlin Newens, your Toastmaster for the evening. Come on up.
First and last name. That is very impressive. We have improved so much in the last hour and a half. I didn't really talk about the theme at the beginning, so I will leave you with, I chose this theme, the Season of Giving, obviously because it's this time of the year. And one of the things that we give is our time, and I would encourage you to make the Season of Giving not just the month of December and the end of November. There are so many people that give their time and volunteer in December or around the holidays and then kind of drop it once December 25th hits. So I would encourage you to continue the Season of Giving in this positive, fun, uplifting energy through the new year, and on July 15th, when it's not the Season of Giving, let's make July 15th the Season of Giving as well. That's all I have to say about the theme. I will pass it over to our president, Mr. Steve.
All right, everybody, I need a round of applause for our first-time presiding officer, Miss Christy Zolpinski.
Yeah.
Nice job tonight.
Great job, great job.
I have to tell you, and if you've ever been in this spot, if you've served as an officer, if you've served as president, you know the first couple times you do this, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, right? Because you have to remember all the things you have to say, and you're like, I have to get stuff done, and I have to introduce people. Who's the Toastmaster? I don't know. So thank you very much. Nice job to you, and thank you for stepping up. A couple things I want to go over. I do have a lot of guests to hear from. I just want to put forth a motion to this club. We've got a very important piece of equipment missing. As you can see, there is no timer. Yes, there is usually a timer with red, yellow, and green lights that indicates the time that people have been speaking. So what I need to do is actually put forth a motion to you to spend a couple of dollars to get a new timer, if I may.
So moved!
All right, fantastic. So I'd like to move that we actually spend up to $125, and we're being judicious. The balance is somewhere around $1,400 in the account. We don't have the exact number, but we're well funded. May I have a second to spend? Second by Venkesh. All in favor to spend on a new timer up to $125?
Aye.
All opposed?
Me, because I think Dan can steal a traffic light. It'll work too.
Madam Secretary will strike that from the official record. Any questions or discussion?
Point of clarity, 125 plus shipping.
Okay, our treasurer has clarified the motion is actually $125 plus the cost of shipping.
I have Amazon Prime, it's free.
It's free for me too, so I'd like to point out that we are going to be very judicious with the funds because, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, folks, okay? But we need a new timer. Very good. All right. Do we have anyone who's opposed to this motion before we close? Great. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody. Fabulous. I want to hear from our guests. Farron, I know this is your second time with us, but would you please share your feedback on Unity?
Yeah, you guys have such a dynamic group here. I'm so impressed by the level of talent here, and not just, and that just speaks to how you guys do care about each other, which is why I'm back. You guys are incredible speakers. You're incredibly supportive of each other, and it's just a great energy to be in both times. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Michael, I'm curious to hear what you and Angela thought, but tell me about your experience. How was it this time?
This is actually the first Toastmasters Club event that I've been to.
Welcome.
Thank you. I always had a pretty good idea what it was about, and it really lived up to all my expectations, those being good. I did say and I'm trying to choose the right words.
Give him a timeout, Marianne.
Are you going to get demerits? Oh, okay. Well,
Gotta give the ribbon back.
No, actually, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got a chance to be here and witness all of this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's so emotional to hear your mom's
say that now.
story about your brother, right? But
It is.
that piece, I'm sure, and thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting your mom. Right? That was fabulous that you came today to do that. What'd you think?
You're right. The story was emotional. That was a really hard and long day for everybody, for our family. Actually, I'll tell something about myself. I was a member of Toastmasters when we lived in Missouri. So through my job, and I did that for a couple of years at the job that I was at. So I'm not new to Toastmasters, and I was really glad when she told me that she was going to join. I think that it's a great way to kind of come out of your shell. I was very shy and had a lot of trouble speaking in front of people, and that brought me out of my shell, so that was great. And the energy and the supportiveness that you guys have here at this group is wonderful. It's fantastic. So a lot of positive energy, and this is really a really good group.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to hear from someone who's a former Toastmaster or a fellow Toastmaster in another club, I have to tell you. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. Oli, your first time at Toastmasters ever. What'd you think, man?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was inspiring that, you know, seeing so many people that, you know, speak with relative, you know, ease, you know, even though it's really uncomfortable for them. I thought that was really inspiring, and it makes me want to get up there and talk. So, yeah, I liked it.
You coming back?
I'm coming back.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
We have a few others not to be missed. I'm sorry I didn't catch your first name.
My name is Alfredo.
Hi, Alfredo. Welcome. What'd you think tonight?
I work with Mo every day,
I'm
so
so sorry.
so I already feel the vibe that you guys have. You know, it's kind of, I feel it every day at work, so it's kind of nothing new. And it brings, I used to be a student council back in high school, and it kind of, being here today kind of brought that memory back on how awesome, how, you know, I feel like family with that group, and that's how, you know, I'm going to come more often with Mo, but I can feel, you know, how kind of nervous, but yeah.
I was too. That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I know you're not new to Toastmasters. And remind me of your first name again.
I'm not. You me?
Yes.
Oh, I am very new.
Are you new to Toastmasters?
I'm as new as you get.
When you started to introduce yourself, I swore that you were a Toastmaster.
No, I'm Ron Burris. Dan, in fact, this is the second Toastmasters club I've been to, and those were both today. It's night and day between. I'm not going to say which one the other one was, or is, but this is by far. There's just no comparison in terms of the energy, the dynamics, and everything else. It's like, wow, I'm just amazed and impressed. And whatever they all said, you know, it's ditto on all that.
I don't believe I've missed anyone. I just want to make sure. No other guests in the audience? Okay. And I'm not calling on you, Tracy, because you're one of us, whether you like it or not. So I actually want to give a quick note of thanks. I want to thank Tracy. Tracy was here last week with her band that said, pause, breathe, speak. And I remember what that said because I was actually thought it was pretty profound. Tracy, you inspire me. You inspire me to get up here and do better. You inspire me to do the work and study. Raymond, you do too. The people that really put in the effort and the thought. And Dan is a great teacher and a great inspiration himself because Dan is one of the hardest working Toastmasters I've ever met, certainly the hardest in this club. Dan, thank you. Thank you all so much. And for all the quiet forces that are out there, Tracy, you're one of them. Kelly, you're absolutely one of them. Evelyn, Hobie's not here to hear this. But thank you to all the quiet forces that make a difference to do what we do while all of us loudmouths are up here getting it done the other way. Really, it takes all of us in our own unique way to make a difference for each other. So wishing you all a Merry Christmas. I also want to share with you we have a couple of Toastmaster spots open, including the 27th and the meeting afterwards. Please sign up to be a Toastmaster. Is there anyone right now that thinks to themselves, oh my gosh, that's me? Is anyone the Toastmaster for the 27th? What? What's what?
I thought you
we
said
don't-
we're having a meeting, they said we're not having a meeting next week.
So I thought Caitlin just said the next meeting is in January, wasn't it?
We're having another party. We're having another party. Oh, not? No, we're not.
I gotta tell you, I'm supposed to be driving this train, and I'm vexed.
next week.
Yeah, Mo's not gonna be here. This is his last meeting. However, we have a meeting scheduled next Thursday. I don't know where you're all thinking you're gonna be, but I'm gonna be here, so.
See you next week for Happy New Year.
What do you need?
What I need is a Toastmaster for next meeting. Dan, thank you so much. Dan is our Toastmaster. Appreciate you, Dan. And Tom is actually signed up to be your general evaluator, so we're going to have a dynamic duo next week. And then if you have not signed up to be Toastmaster yet, take the opportunity to start the new year right, because we need a Toastmaster the meeting afterwards, and let's see your face up here. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is nothing else, Merry Christmas and